You become what you repeat. There is a sentence many people like to believe. You attract what you want. It sounds reassuring. It feels empowering and allows you to imagine that desire alone has weight. But if that were true, most people would already be living the lives they dream about. The truth is less comforting and far more exacting. You do not become what you want, you become what you repeat, and you repeat what you become. Your life is not shaped by your wishes, it is shaped by your patterns. What you think repeatedly, what you do consistently, and what you allow quietly. That is what forms your identity. And your identity determines your trajectory long before your results become visible. If you examine your life closely, it is not accidental, it is rehearsed. Every habit you have sustained, every standard you have accepted, and every action you have postponed has been practiced into place. You did not arrive here by chance, you arrived here by repetition. And once you see that clearly, the conversation changes. The question is no longer, what do I want? The question becomes, what am I practicing? Because most people spend years wanting a different life while repeating the same behaviors. They want confidence, but they rehearse hesitation. They want progress, but they rehearse avoidance. They want change, but they rehearse comfort. And then they wonder why nothing shifts. It is because the mind does not respond to desire, it responds to familiarity. Whatever you repeat becomes familiar. What becomes familiar becomes automatic. And what becomes automatic becomes you. That is the mechanism. Quiet, very consistent, and unforgiving. Which means if you want a different life, you do not begin with a different ambition. You begin with a different pattern. You begin with what you are willing to do when it is inconvenient. You begin with what you're willing to repeat when there is no recognition. You begin with what you're willing to become before the world acknowledges it. Because identity is not declared, it is constructed deliberately, gradually, consistently, repeatedly. There is another idea I want to address, the belief that you are behind, that time has moved ahead of you, that by a certain age, life should already be resolved, established, and complete. This belief is not only inaccurate, but it is limiting. You are not behind, you are just unrefined. And there is a big difference. To be behind suggests you have missed your moment. To be unrefined suggests you are still in the process of becoming. And becoming requires time. Depth requires time. Clarity requires time. There are lives that ignite early and dissipate just as quickly. And there are lives that take longer to assemble, but once they do, they are difficult to overlook. Not because of luck, but because of repetition, because of endurance, because of the decision to continue without immediate evidence. If you're still here, still working, still showing up, still trying despite limited external validation, you are not late. You are building something that requires more than speed. It requires substance. And substance is always formed beneath the surface. Substance is formed before recognition, before validation of any kind, before proof. This is the phase most people abandon, not because they lack ability, but because they cannot tolerate the distance between effort and reward. They want confirmation early, they want alignment quickly, they want reassurance that what they are doing is effective. But growth does not operate on that timeline. Growth demands repetition without evidence, consistency without applause, belief without immediate return. And that is where identity is forced, not when results appear, but when they do not. So, if you are in that phase right now, understand this clearly. You are not stuck. You are being shaped. The question is not whether it is working. The question is whether you are continuing because repetition compounds. It always does. What you do occasionally has very little impact. What you do consistently defines everything. If you repeat hesitation, you become hesitant. If you repeat discipline, you become disciplined. If you repeat effort, you become capable. And capability sustained over time becomes inevitability. At that point, success is no longer surprising, it is expected because you have already become the person who can sustain it. So instead of asking yourself what you want from life, ask something more precise. What am I repeating every day that my future cannot escape? And if the answer does not align with where you intend to go, then the adjustment is obvious. Not your ambition, not your timeline, your patterns. That is where transformation begins, not in imagination, in repetition. And once you understand that, you stop waiting. You stop hoping. You begin building deliberately, consistently, and quietly until one day the life you once desired feels familiar. Not because you attracted it, because you became it.